Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Vinetz, an 82-year-old pediatrician from Los Angeles and a member of Physicians for a National Health Program. Sadly, RFK Jr. is an absurd choice for Secretary of Health and Human Services. I was born in 1942 before penicillin and most antibiotics and preventive vaccines were available. I grew up to become a pediatrician and practiced for 45 years with 3 years in public health. When I was 8 years old, my 5-year-old neighbor was quarantined with paralytic polio, and my parents, all parents then, lived in fear that their child would become infected with polio, because no polio vaccine existed then. During my childhood, the only vaccines available were against smallpox, diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough. There were no vaccines against the epidemic and sometimes crippling and too often deadly infectious diseases like polio, measles, meningitis, rubella, infantile diarrhea, and others. Later, during medical school and after I became a pediatrician in 1973, I cared for many children with those diseases. Some of them died in spite of everything I or anyone else could do. However, I never had to care for a child with polio. Why? Because in 1955, the first vaccine against polio became available. It was not patented, and it virtually wiped out that disease. The iron lung machines, which had breathed for children's paralyzed bodies, were all stored unneeded in our hospital's basement. In later years, then, safe, effective preventive vaccines against many other diseases became available. In my last 20-plus years of pediatric practice, I never saw a child with measles, very few with meningitis, and never had to hospitalize a child with diarrhea. Sadly, harmfully for innumerable children and their parents, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a lawyer, not a physician, not a trained health professional, who may be well-meaning, has spread misinformation about certain disease-preventing, life-saving vaccines, including polio. About vaccines, RFK has said, and I quote, "There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective," close quote. He is a Kennedy, famous and very convincing. So many parents believe him and consequently have lost trust in vaccines and even in their own doctor's advice. The tragic result? Less immunization of children, more disease, and worldwide more deaths. He's not wrong about everything, but he is dangerously, harmfully misleading and wrong about too much, especially vaccines. We need honest, correct, trustworthy scientific information. We need leaders people can trust to provide that information. Sadly, RFK Jr. is not such a person. He is not qualified to lead our nation's health system or to protect our children's health. So please, vote no on RFK Jr.